everybody, and welcome to the first episode of What If Civilization Started Over, Season 2. And this is a continuation of the previous series, which is What If Civilization Started Over, Series 1. And if you haven't watched episode 50, I would at least watch that. If not, if you can watch more, or you want to watch more, I would watch 46 as well. And, of course, watch the whole series. It's very important to know all this, but it all ties together in episode 50. But we are going to be starting off, we last left off with a spaceship over here inside of this little Chinese area. I like to call this area Communist China. Probably know why. But we zoom out and you can see there are some additions to the map, and this is like a brand new map. This is the old map without the colors because that map was broken so bad. So I just made a new map. So there are some changes, like Africa's changed, the Mediterranean, of course, changed, the Indonesian Isles have been changed to how it is in the modern Wixo world, and Australia has also been changed, and a little parts of Russia have been changed, but we're going to be starting off over here in China, and that spaceship releases people. These are the only people on the planet, all the others were wiped out when the timeline changed. But they kind of just start out, of course, you know, like over here, the conditions over here aren't as good as like areas around, so they're just gonna like eventually they explore out and they find the sea, and they probably find the sea down here, and their civilization will start right along here. This is like the cradle of their civilization, right over here, and it's gonna be this dark blue color, and they'll just keep expanding, and eventually they'll encompass all this main area, which is going to be their main civilization, and they'll work their way down south to this river right here, and they'll go to this island. This is like the first naval expedition, and it's pretty cool. And around, we probably started in this new timeline. We'll be in about the year 2000, I would say. So we're in around the year 2000 BCE. Sorry. We'll start there. Or actually, no. We're at negative, I think, 10,000 BCE is when around civilization started in real life. So that's what we'll be having it here. And these guys will keep expanding out. And they will get fairly big. You know, this is pretty big for the first civilization. And of course, this isn't just it. They probably have like provincial areas. So like, I don't know, like let's say the mainland area has like its own area. Let's say there could be like a southern area down here, and then the northern area up here. These are the main provincial areas. But these guys, they're just gonna keep expanding, and they're gonna grow pretty big. Actually, they're gonna expand up north into more of this Korean area. And eventually, they do reach Korea just a little bit. They don't go too much into Korea, however. But they will just explore around that area. They'll also head south of this river and reach this area where they will expand even more so. And around this little bend here. And around this time they are becoming very large. Especially for an early civilization. So, we see something big break out. That is a civil war. And I'm going to call this the Origins War. Because their most powerful and pretty much biggest spot is down here where civilization first started. And it's like the most populated area. And another thing that's happening around this time is a population boom. This is a mini one compared to like anything compared to our time. So they're probably at around 2 million people, and they're growing rapidly, like 200,000 a year maybe. Or that's an overshot. 2,000 every like 5 years. It's like every decade there's like about 400,000 more people. So very populous. And these guys are gonna go ahead and expand. The Civil War is gonna expand on pretty much all fronts. This little red blob in the middle is kind of like a centerpiece. You want to connect all pieces up. And at this time they're pretty much using just like the technology is like rocks. It's like rocks. That's like they're throwing rocks around. So it's not really good, but they cut up. There we go, at the top here. And they kind of just die out here. Up here, however, people fight back and they take over this whole red area. And as all this area is taken down up there, this area right here, it can't really be evacuated because they don't really know that much about this, the Yellow Sea right here. They can't sail across it. Like, travel from like here to there, and like here to here, anywhere really around it. It's really impossible unless it's like really short distance from like here to there, here to there, here to there, here to there, here to there. So like, yeah, really short distances, like all over, just like really short. They can probably like travel all throughout this bay right here, this down here. But other than that, I can't really travel really anywhere, like really far around it. But down south here, they're gonna keep expanding more. This is the populated area, so it gets a little hard to expand through here because it's basically, they're not really military. It's just people fighting with like, yeah, sticks that's really just it, sticks and stones. But eventually they kick it out to here. But eventually a big wave of people, I guess, I don't know, but they do get fought back everywhere, especially around this little main area right here. It's taken completely over, in fact. And they cut it up into two pieces: the populated original area and then the center area, which is also suffering heavy loss, as a lot of the people just kind of given up. You know, they're like, what's the point now? This whole thing kind of just surrenders. This one does too. And at least there are people just kind of like leaving the area. So now we're just left with this area down here, which will expand like right back into these areas that weren't occupied by them. But we're gonna also show them, like, yeah, they're moving into some of these areas, but yeah, not really doing too much. Down south here, however, things are still going very well for this little red thing right here. I've expanded down south all the way to this river right here. They've gone all the way up and around it. Pretty much just like this in the up north. They're doing a little bit of the same, moving up this peninsula right here. They do capture a good amount of it, but eventually those people that are up there fighting kind of just come down through here, because at this point these armies are collapsing here. The red team ones up here, they're collapsing back, and this one surrenders as well, leading to just the main one. So after some agreement with the government, which really is just like probably a religious leader, more of a I forget what those are called, but it's just a religious leader in power. I completely forgot the word, but yeah, it's just this guy in power, and he kind of like surrenders over, so he'll like give all the troops back, and he'll surrender his army over, meaning the first battle has officially we kind of like joined, yes. But the first Civil War, or the Origin Civil War, is over already, and that was probably like a 4-month war. It was pretty short. You know, it can't really be that long when people are probably not in support of this. There's really no reason to be fighting. The government is not too bad. I mean, there is some corruption, and you go like by people scales, so like slaves and stuff like that. Slaves were probably a thing around this time, but they're probably at the very bottom. And there's like just like levels of society, but it probably goes like that. And after that's done, they're going to start moving south here through these southern Chinese lands to more of the rugged coastline area, and this is very good for expansion. They move all the way south toward this area. And now their empire is getting quite lengthy, and they finally decide to set up a capital, and there are probably already major cities here, so we'll need to add those. Here are our capital and our major cities. As you can see, technically, there are a grand total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 major cities, which is quite a lot, as well as the one capital they have set up in like pretty much the original land right here. But something new we got to talk about that I've added this season is a mountain map. So we can see pretty big mountain chains around here. We have the Altai Mountains, the Ural Mountains, the Himalayas, the Great Dividing Range, Johannesburg, something like that, the Andes, the Rockies, the Appalachian Mountains, the Atlas Mountains, the Pyrenees, the Swiss Mountains, whatever those are called, and we have the Scandinavian Mountains, as well as the Caucasus, and whatever you call these mountains, I forgot their name. But moving back onto that, because we won't be touching up with that in a while, we're going to see even more expansion, and I think we're going to turn the capital off for now. So they're just going to keep expanding south, and over the years, they grow quite large, expanding south. Eventually, their secret travel becomes good enough that they can actually land on Taiwan, and they'll be able to capture all of it, as well as an island right off the coast of it. And they'll start moving up the Korean Peninsula just a little bit more, just around this area. And now we kind of need to see the... we're probably going to add a layer to see what is explored, the explored layer. And here we go, all the unexplored land in the world, and you can see their world is pretty small to them. They barely know about any of this, and it probably does not look like this to like maps of them. It probably looks way different, because maps aren't very accurate at this time. Definitely not. They probably don't even have maps. But this is what they look like. And I think we'll be keeping the explored thing on for now. And we will be increasing this. Yeah, let's keep expanding and expanding. The Chinese, these guys really love to expand and start blue team. And eventually, they will get to a point where they're starting to expand into lands that really don't go along with the coast. They're just like evolving the population centers. So the major population center is like right around here. There's like really big population here. Hello. That's there. But yeah, they'll expand mainly around the center area. So we end up seeing something that looks like this. And at this point, they'll expand to something like this. And yeah, all this area is becoming very populated. They're probably at about 10 million people in their kingdom, which is a ton at this time. And not really everybody's being appeased. And as you can see here, we kind of need to update this. But they will be exploring more, of course, to do this. And they will be exploring out into the wilderness more this way, as well as exploring this way into Korea. And eventually they'll find the other side, go up the coast on that side, and they'll just start moving down Korea. At a slower pace though, because they're not really worried about this area. But eventually, they will just move into this land, take it over, and yeah, they'll just take over a pretty big sized territory, and this is a very big sized country. And but we'll see another civil war happening. And this civil war is a lot bigger, with 3 groups instead of, well, 3 groups in the main country, which is 4 groups in total. And yeah, this is going to be very big, very bloody. The year we've probably gone to around 50, probably around 100, 200 years from the start of civilization. Maybe even 300, I would say, by now. And yeah, it's a lot later, of course. It took a while for them to expand. But now we need to see some battle. The Yellow team down here is going to move into some of these lands that around this major city right here that they have occupied. And most of these areas are kind of like provincial areas that go with their cities. That's why they have it. But they'll move in to these areas that they do not occupy. They'll occupy all of this little bay here. I think this is like the Hong Kong area, I believe. Maybe it's up north more. But they'll also go to... People of Taiwan are just going to take over it. The most populated areas are already colored for them, so pretty easy. And they'll start moving through this. and they'll go through this area on the left, and these guys pretty much just fall. They have no support, so you just gotta surrender over. Most of them were in favor of it anyway, of the Civil War anyway, just not enough to like join action. And they're gonna move up towards this city, but they aren't able to take it. Up north, though, they will be very unsuccessful in taking. The blue team will be successful in taking the yellow team area here, and they're gonna start moving their troops into the red team right here. Slowly but surely, this area is one of the most populated areas of this area, as well as around the capital city. But the red team will go ahead and make an effort to take the area around this major city that they already had, but barely. And they're going to move through this area and lane up north here. They're going to move into this major city. And this one right here, which is a very big victory for the red team. And the red team will keep moving through. Now, at this point, the Empire, a lot of people are signing up for the military, kind of. It's not really a thing, like militias, kind of. People will just kind of like join basically. And up here, it's not looking any better for the military, or the dark blue team has most of this area up here pretty unpopulated for the country, who's probably at about 15 million, 10 million, like I said, right now. But they'll reach to Korea, meaning they are technically, yeah, it's pretty much been a Pacific Ocean, or just kind of the Sea of Japan, I guess. So it doesn't really count. But Taiwan is touching, or at least this island right here is touching the Pacific. So they are touching the Pacific. But back up to here, this area down here just kind of falls to them. They were in support of the movement anyways. And then they're still going to move their troops through this area. But they're going to get kicked back pretty badly, actually. Because how kind of strong, how weak they actually are. It's just, they have like 2 strongholds basically, and both of them were captured. So there isn't that much support for these guys, even in like the popular areas. There is only a bit of support. So these guys will be pushed back just a bit, but not too much. Meanwhile, down here in the red team, things are looking very good for them, as they have conquered the area. Going over to here, I don't like this color. Let's make this a little bit. Yeah, we need to definitely change this. More of an orange tone. This will work. And they connect up, and they're just kind of going out. Capital City cannot pretty much be taken. They are way too strong. But they will link up with these other groups here, and eventually they'll fully encircle this whole area and get to the border of this major city. Meaning that these guys got a lot of work to do. And in fact, they are putting in the work, because they have just recaptured this major city right here, and they are pushing back into this original area right here. And they're just pushing into these lands, and they reclaim most of the land around this major city up here. But over here, they're going to be moving into the city right here, which is a very big blow for the dark blue team. But it just might not be enough, as the yellow team takes back a ton of land with a sweeping campaign down here, and they kind of just sweep through all this territory. It's pretty bad for the blue team, the dark blue team anyway. And they take a lot of this land here. That was their yeah. They just lose all of their land. They stand no chance in this war. It's getting way worse now, because a lot of more provinces, or just little territories, are just joining up with the rebellion, kind of. So the red team got just pretty much all that. The green team very unified now, which leads them to kicking back the dark blue team and getting some of their territory back here, and a little bit back of it right here. But yeah, it's not really good for them. And down here, the yellow team is taking all this land around this bay right here, and all the land inside, as well as Taiwan. So that goes over to them. Up here, however, the red team has pretty much ended any chances of the dark blue team at saving itself. As now they're invading up north, up to here, to see who can get this land, most of this land. And this is like all the green team's troops that are going up to here. So they're going to get most of it, probably going down to here after a bit. And the red team will meet up with them. Now this is the first time any of the groups have actually met up, so there will be a little bit of fighting, a little bit of skirmishes, but not much happens else. Now at this point, probably even more areas are joining up. We see this whole city right here join up, and a lot of the areas around it, like all this, join up with them, which means a giant one up here, and green team probably gets that piece of land, and the yellow team, this whole piece of land in the back goes over to them, as well as a lot of these areas right here move over to them, as well as the northern major city that they just captured, which helps them to go even farther into these guys. And our yellow team rebellion up here will be re-liberated. And, yeah, not looking too good. The red team captured this final major city. And, in the next weeks, most of the areas down south show their allegiance with the yellow team here. But there are some parts right here that go over to the red team. And, the capital eventually starts to crack, and they've reached the doorstep. They've captured like all the land around it. Eventually, they reach the capital, and they do some really bad things there. I'm not gonna say. That's just kind of history for you. But the Dark Blue Team is no longer here anymore, and we can really just see how big the Empire was. Even the red team here is bigger than pretty much the original start of the Empire, which is very big. And they're only like 1/3 the size. So now we're going to see that the first real peace treaty, as the first real war just kind of happened. And here's the main basis of the peace treaty. So we're going to start off up here. The green team will get all of this, which is quite a lot. The red team for now will just get like all this mainland in the center here, and this little piece right here. And the yellow team will get all of this land. So now there are just 2 spots left. There is the spot up here, left, that, and there is this spot down here, left. So these are the 2 spots that we still need to make a peace treaty for. Okay, and here's another pretty much the last of the peace treaty. Of course, this is all happening at once, but the green team gets all the land up there, red team gets all this land, and they get these 2 little pieces right here. And I still don't know what to do with this part down here, so I think we will be giving the yellow team, or I think this land will just be occupied for a bit, but we do need to make a full peace treaty. Okay, that should be it, but the red team gets these 2 pieces once again. As I was saying, they get the 2 pieces here, and they will get this island and that island right there. The rest of this goes over to the yellow team, including these pieces right here. And that is the peace treaty. So, the smallest country by far is definitely the green team over here, which, we actually need to add that to their territory. But by far the green team, then it's probably the yellow team, and then the red team, which is the biggest. But this episode's not done yet. We still got a lot more to go over. So we're gonna move on to the yellow team, and then they're just gonna expand through this area right here. They're gonna find all of Hidden Island. They're just gonna start going along the coast more down into here, and something they will find something. And what they find is actually a civilization. And these guys aren't too big. I mean, they keep going and they keep going. Actually, might need a bigger brush for this. So yeah, they're not too big. They stretch out the coast a bit, and a bit more, and a bit more, and a bit more, and a bit more, until we get over to here. So yeah, it is actually pretty big. Probably about the size of the green team, maybe a little bit smaller. But yeah, they are pretty big. And we can see they have capital and major cities. So yeah, that's the 4th civilization found. And by now, by the time they find those guys, there were probably a little bit more major cities. Because like I said, population is ramping up. And there are a lot more major cities, like you can see here. Look, yeah, it probably looks about like this. So compared to the blue team, it's actually not that much. Every one of these guys has at least 3 more, or 2 more than it has. So it's not that strong, but it is actually pretty strong for its time, I guess. But enough of that. We need to move on to the green team, who is doing some exploring right now. And they're going to be exploring down into Korea, but they eventually find something like the yellow team. And this is actually a nomadic tribe of South Korea, basically. And as you can see, they have a lot of territory over here. But they also have some territory over here. Because they have that Japanese Isles to themselves, basically. So that must be very nice. But they have all of this land. So now the world's looking way larger than it used to be, as we can see here. But now some countries need to do some expanding. But something you can notice about the South Koreans is that they have a lot of they can travel really far in the water. I mean, it's cutting it close. I mean, I can go to here, I can go to there, I can go to there, here to there, maybe here to there, of course. They can go all over, basically. So they can go pretty much anywhere. But and they will be expanding because of this. Mainly in the mainland a little bit, probably to about right here. Oh, I messed up the border here. But they expand a bit. And now we've got to look at all the other countries expanding because they need to. We see the red team expanding into this little piece of territory right here. The green team expands very largely. Their population is growing a lot as well. And the yellow team will expand into this land around Hidden Island and this little peninsula that leads up to it. So this is what we're looking like right now. And this is what civilization looks like. And we're going to need to see some things happening here, because this will be a very centered map if we did it. Number 1 is Korea's capital moving to Japan, because these guys are a nomadic tribe. Yeah, that's right. They're nomadics. They have officially moved to Japan, and we can see them basically shifting east for now. But they are now going to be called Japan instead of Korea, so that was very short-lived. But now we need to move on down to here, and we actually see a lot of exploration going to be happening. by these guys. And they're going to travel down the coast here. Until they get, yeah, they'll get pretty far down south. But they kind of just don't do anything. And they actually never make it to the other side. That is until a guy goes over here. From up here in the mainland, he decides he wants to travel across. And he actually finds the other side. So he's going to go south and see if he can meet up with these guys. And in fact, they do. They meet up with our already explored territory. And they explore some more. This guy is a very famous explorer. And he is known for his abilities, I guess. On how good he can, like, think of thoughts. Something like that. He's just really famous. And they end up exploring all of this land. And they end up going up towards the Myanmar area. And traveling up even more. To where we see another country being formed right around here. Now, I say country, but this is actually a colony. And this is a colony of the blue team. Set up by the explorer guy. Because he wants to be able to explore farther and have equipment, so they can like do a whole equipment line thing back. But I mean, this is a long time ago, so like no one really remembers these guys, and he's not really too important to the modern day, or at least the day of the future. But they will expand and make a colony like this, but not many people live there. And in fact, this guy thinks he's so good at everything, and he just decides to crown himself as king. He'll set up his own major city, right here, and he will crown himself king of a new country. And yeah, so it actually becomes pretty important at this time now that he's done this. So he's more important, but more so for stupidity, as he does not know really how to run a country, and it falls into anarchy, which is it's not really good for the maybe like 20,000 people living here. Very overpopulated. In population, number one, I think would go to the red team at about 10 million themselves. The yellow team right behind at 7 million. The green team at 5 million. These guys right down here, the Vietnamese, probably at 1 million. The nomadic tribe of Korea probably at 500,000, and this orange team here at around 20,000. So in the world, there is around 124,500 124 and a half million people, and a half million people living in the world right now. And as you can see, there is still a lot to explore. So they better get moving. But that will end today's episode. If you enjoyed, show your support. And yeah, you want to see more of season 2. Show your support, and I'll see you in the next video, which most likely will be another episode. Bye.